For the past couple of days, I've been clearing out my sewing and crafting space, and I've been finding pockets of, well, pots of gold, as I would call them. And I was reminded about one of those pots of gold, a secret bin of fabric scraps that I had forgotten about years ago. So for this week's block, I'm challenging myself to use the fabric scraps found in this pot of gold. Let's get this challenge started. As part of my one step forward for the month of February 2022, one of my goals was actually to reorganize and destash my quilting, sewing, and crafting space. Now I did get the space reorganized and, well, sort of. The room flows a lot better, but let's just say it's not Pinterest ready. But as I was reorganizing things and cleaning out stuff, well, I found one big pot of gold, a fabric scrap bin that I've forgotten about years ago. So I thought, let's see what's in there. And I began to think, can I make a block out of this? Ha ha ha, that sounds like a challenge that I was not going to back away from. And I totally forgot I had those boxes there. You know, they're right in plain sight under my cutting station. Again, as I said, spring cleaning is a good thing sometimes because you forget about stuff like this. And so I have an accumulation of all these scrap pieces that I want to use up. Kind of sorted them by the different fabrics. And I'm kind of thinking of something. Maybe we can make a spool block. I think there's enough here that we can actually do that. So let's make a spool block. Now, what I'm gonna do with all these pieces is I'm actually gonna sew them together in smaller strip sets. And how I'm gonna do that is most of these are kind of cut to the same size. Let's see what happens. Because I often use patterns that have similar lengths, like how many of us do patterns with 2.5 inch strips or 2.5 inch squares or 5 inch strips. You know, a lot of these offshoots pieces, which is what exactly this is, they end up being the same width or the same size. So this might not be as difficult as it seems. Now, if you do want to make this Spools quilt block, say that fast 10 times.
Spools quilt block, Spools quilt block, Spools quilt block.
That'll be a tongue tire. But if you do want to make this block, you know, here's what you can do. If you do have strips, 2.5 inches, 1.5 inches, I don't care what size, you can just use those strips to make your spool. But I'm just going to use these little bits of scraps here. So to sew the spools part of this block, well, I just took these random pieces and sewed them together to make strip sets. Now, since these pieces were of similar size, it wasn't hard to make a strip set out of them. But I did have to do a little bit of trimming and squaring up. Eventually, I did square up my strip sets to 2 inches wide by 4.5 inches long. So I sewed these little pieces into sort of like mini strip sets here and kind of grouped them according to blue color, well, blue, and these kind of greenish colors here. Okay, 2 inches by 4.5 inches long. Okay, let's put these pieces aside for now. I did also find a few of these white 2.5 inch strips here. So I'm going to use these and I'm going to put these on each side of the strip set that I created here. So I need to cut these 4.5 inches. And since I got I'm going to be making 4 blocks to make one gigantic block. So I'm going to need 8 of these. 1, 2, 4, so I need 2 more. Five, 6, 7, and 8. So here's how we're going to do this. We're going to sew 2 of the whites on each side of the strip set here. And we're going to do that to all 4 of these. So I have sewn the 2 white rectangles to both sides of my strip sets on all 4 of these. And when I pressed it away from that center. So I pressed it actually I pressed the seam allowances toward the white. And it's only because I don't want to fight with all of that bulk. And even though it might show, or that seam allowance may show or shadow through, it's not worth it for me to fight with that. Each of these units, they should measure 6 inches by 4.5 inches. Okay, so 6 inches by 4.5. Let's put these aside for a second. I do have 1.5 inch strips of various colors. That's just one of the standard sizes that I do carry in my pre-cut stash. And so I pulled out a few of these 1.5 inch black strips here. I got 3 of them. And I also got, these are 1.5 inch white background squares to match the white color of my block here. So what we're gonna do is we are gonna first of all trim our 1.5 inch strip down to 1 1/4 inches wide. And the reason I'm doing a 1 1/4 instead of a 1 1/2 is because I wanna make sure that this block or the unit ends up being 6 inches. Okay, so I did the math, and yeah, 1 1/4 should be okay. And then I'm gonna subcut each of these down to, what was it? 4.5. And I'm gonna need 8 pieces of this. So 4.5. I don't have enough. Okay, 1 more strip. Then I can take this, cut that piece, or square off on that piece, straighten out the edge there. And we can go and cut this at 4.5. Okay, so I should have a little more than 8 now. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Aww. Need 1 more. Okay, now that should be enough. In which I can throw those away. Now I know that's more than enough pieces. But we also have to make sure that we got enough of these. So with these, we're gonna cut 1 1/4 inch squares. Okay, 1 1/4 by 1 1/4. Okay, these white background squares, we're gonna sew them to the ends, to each ends of these black rectangles. So 1 here and 1 here. So I'm gonna need 8 of these. No, I'm gonna need 16 of these too. So how this will lay out is, sorry, 1 black strip, the white background. I'm gonna have this here with these 2 here. Let's get some of these blocks put together. Okay, so we got 1 of our units all sewn together. So this is what it kind of gives us an idea as to what it will look like. Now, if you want to, you can go ahead and snowball the corners here to make it what do you call them, end caps? I don't know, to make it so that it goes at an angle, but I figure I'll just keep it simple this time around. So I just opted not to do that. Okay, so we got one down. Let's get the other 3 sewn together. You know, a couple of weeks back, as some of you can kind of remember, I think it was week 30 or maybe 31. We asked about what kind of iron you used, and true to form, you know, what was not surprising was the fact that a lot of us have some expensive irons and a lot of us have some cheap irons, in which it was not surprising to find out that a lot of us said that the cheap iron actually was the iron that was the workhorse. And they usually lasted longer than the more expensive irons. Surprise, surprise. But it kind of got me thinking. A lot of us were also saying that all irons, whether we want them to or not, if we put water in them and use steam, they spit out. Or they spit out water sometimes instead of steam. So that kind of got me thinking, you know, do most of us use a dry iron, or do we actually use steam in our irons? Now, as for myself, sometimes if I'm sewing or if I'm trying to iron out large pieces or yardage of fabric, yeah, I will use steam, because sometimes those wrinkles, when it comes off the bolt, those wrinkles are very stubborn. Or sometimes I'll just actually take the whole bolt of fabric off, well, take the fabric off the bolt and just soak it in water just so I can get the wrinkles out. But what do you guys do? Do you guys use steam in your irons, or do you guys not use steam? I'll be curious to find out about that, because I know that a lot of people, again, you can read the comments from the prior week's videos where they say that their iron always spits up. So it kind of makes me wonder, do they use steam, or what other alternative is there to get some of those very, very nasty wrinkles out? So, I don't know, let's share some ideas. How do you get rid of your nasty wrinkles? Do you use steam to steam it out? Or do you just use a dry iron and try and press the crap out of that crease? Leave a comment down below. Let us know, or let's share some knowledge with each other to just get a basic understanding as to how you do, or how you get a nasty wrinkle out. When I have a really nasty wrinkle that's in yardage, I will either soak the yardage in water, like in my bathtub when it's clean, or I will use a spray bottle and just soak the entire fabric in that with that spray bottle. And I don't just spray it lightly. I actually get in there with my hands and rub that water in there. And I pray and pray and pray to the steam gods that the wrinkle will come out. Yeah, I know it seems silly, but hey, you gotta do what you gotta do. But what do you do? Again, do you use steam in your irons? I'll be curious to know about that, because maybe somebody out there knows a trick that the rest of us don't. Who knows? Okay, I'm totally lost now. Nope, back on track, okay. Now, as you can see at the quilt behind me, well, yeah, my one step forward goal was to get that quilt top done. But yeah, that never happened. So for the month of March, I know some of you have already been posting your goals for the month of March on the Treasure Heart Creations Facebook group. As another bonus to me cleaning up all of this mess, I did find some treasures that I'm not going to be using. So yeah, I'm going to be announcing what the prize is for March, so stay tuned for that. Now, it's not going to be of the same value as the Fat Quarter Tower. However, it is fabric, I will say that. And you know, fabric these days is pretty darn expensive. Let's see, what else can I update you with? Oh, and also, this is not really quilting related, but I'm kind of curious what your answer is going to be, because as most of you already know, I live here in Southern California, Los Angeles to be more specific, near the LAX airport to be even more specific. Oh my gosh, I filled up my car with gas this week. Oh boy. Here in Los Angeles, we have finally broken the $5 a gallon mark. In fact, some of the gas stations here locally, they're already charging $5.50, sometimes even more. And that's the low grade of gas. If you want to talk the premiums, oh, you're almost approaching $6. I'm kind of curious also, what is gas prices locally for you or in your neck of the woods? Put a comment down below. Let everybody know what the average price at the time of you watching this video really is. Because I heard in some other parts of the country, it's still under $4. And well, in other parts of the world, believe it or not, they're up to $10. I can't imagine paying $10 a gallon. Oh my gosh, that's scary. Well, if you ask me, that's also price gouging, but I ain't want to gossip, so you ain't heard that from me. No, you did not. No, I've been kind of realizing that, you know, every day, you know, I almost drink about 10 cups of coffee, and that's really not good for you. I mean, 1 or 2 cups, maybe 4, but 10? That's a little bad, so I'm trying to make the switch to tea. So far, so good. I mean, I'm not hating it. This is actually lavender tea, although it doesn't look like it is lavender tea, but, well, I can definitely taste the lavender in here. I think that's all the news in my neck of the woods, so let's get this block completely sewn together, and let's get this block done. And here is my spools block. Now the block ends up being 11.5 inches. Of course, give or take your 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now how I created this, as you just saw, was I used my old scrap bin that I found or forgot about, and I used the scrap pieces in there to make the spool. But if you want to use 1.5 inch strips or 2.5 inch strips, hey, you're free to do so. It's your quilt block. You make it how you want to. But I figure it might be a good challenge for me to use those smaller pieces in the scrap bin to make the spools part. So here you have it. Making this block gave me an idea. So we're going to be doing some strip set blocks. How many variations can we come up with? Well, you'll just have to see. If you want a head start, we'll start cutting up some 1.5 inch strips or 2.5 inch strips. And, well, you'll see. You'll be ready for next week. Well, until then, go out and create something. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell for notifications on when I upload the next video. Put a comment down below saying what you liked or maybe even what you didn't like. And Join the Facebook discussion group at Treasure Heart Creations. You can post pictures of the blocks that you created, or just scroll through and gather inspiration from other Treasure Heart Creation Group members. And from time to time, there are giveaways exclusively for Treasure Heart Creation Group members. So use the link in the description box below to sign up. If you're on Instagram, post pictures of the blocks that you're working on using the hashtag THC5252. Well, that's it for now. Now go out and create something.